Yo, what's up, guys? Today we are reviewing Captain Miller. I have just watched it, and honestly, let me tell you one thing. Captain Miller is. At first, I thought it was going to be a movie about him joining the army, and I thought it was going to be a film that would explore like his story throughout the whole his journey throughout like the army. And I thought there was going to be like a character arc of him growing from a soldier into a captain. That's not what really the story is about. Now, this review will have spoilers, so if you don't want to have spoilers, then yeah, don't watch the review until you watch the film itself. But the thing about Captain Miller is that it is a war movie. It is a war movie in itself. It is about, bro, I don't know how to explain this, but the whole film is a very serious film. There wasn't any there wasn't any comedy relief in this film. The romance itself was very realistic. It wasn't meet cute. It wasn't. It virtually didn't have romance, but there was a love interest, and there was a very small undertone of romance. But I think what this movie, and the best way to describe this movie is that it's an emotional movie. It's about the emotions, it's about the pride. And if I could describe Captain Miller, I would say he is a freedom fighter. So not only for his tribe, but for India itself. So there are two plots over here where he is being oppressed by the British, and he's also being oppressed by the king, who is Indian himself. So we have two sides of the coin here. And all he ever wanted to do was join the army to gain respect. And immediately, he did not find that. What he found was a corrupt system that led him into a protest where there were people protesting peacefully, and then he just was ordered to shoot them down. So that is the villain origin story of Captain Miller. So at first I thought it was going to explore how he became captain and what he did within the army, but no, it actually is just a small part of the movie. And the whole bulk of the movie is focused on like it's a war. And when I said that there was a romantic interest, a love interest, and also when I said that the whole movie is serious, it's because they are at war. It's a constant feeling of war. Constant feeling of war. There's no time for romance. There's no time for comedy. There's no time for playing around. It's just pure war. This movie has a lot of action sequences. This movie has a lot of moments that are very heartbreaking, very emotional, and the acting is next level. Dhanush did a very good job of captivating the audience. And one of the things that really called my attention was that the soundtrack was very well made. It had some feeling of old Western movies. And this kind of felt like a mix of Platoon, you know, those Vietnam War movies, and old Western Bang Bang films. It had kind of a mix of both. And I really enjoyed the film. There were some parts that were a little bit slower, and some parts that were much more exhilarating and exciting. So if you like storytelling, then you're going to enjoy the parts that were storytelling. This whole movie was kind of a one-man army, but at the same time, he had his army, his team. So it also had that balance. And what I liked about this is it was quite on the realistic side of the spectrum. It didn't have a lot of exaggerations, although, obviously a one-man person shooting an army is not realistic at all. But what I'm saying is that it was more focused on a battlefield. It wasn't, it didn't have any of those crazy over-the-top action sequences. It had sequences that were believable. I could imagine one man on a bike throwing a grenade and blowing up a truck. That's something that could happen, The villains were real villains. They were people that you really hated, and you wanted to see them pay for what they have done. So the villains were also very well developed. I think the characters were well developed. And I think the villains, the whole idea was that you were constantly waiting for the moment that they got what they deserved. And it's funny because it feels like it's two movies in one, because the first half of the movie, it feels like there's a beginning, middle, and end to the story. With the son of the governor, right? And then we have the second half of the movie where the general comes in. So it feels like there are two villains. It feels like the story is concluded in the first half, and then a new story starts in the second half. This is divided in chapters also. So they tell the story calmly, and each chapter has a different feel to it. They also play with the storyline of present and past. So they normally go flashbacks and tell the past story, which is all character building. And I think they did that wonderfully well. Dhanush entry scene was always like overwhelming. Not overwhelming. It was overwhelming is not the right word. It was exciting. It's it's an entry scene. However, Shivana's entry scene in the first half, it was really just, hey, he's there, hi. It wasn't anything over the top. So I was a little bit disappointed in the first entry scene, because I thought, come on, I want to see Shivana entry scene, and I want to see this whole, because he is famous for having amazing entry scenes. So I was not impressed when he just appeared on screen. But there's a reason for that. There's a big reason for that. This was carefully, meticulously, intentionally made, because it felt like Shivana was a side character. And you basically forget about him throughout the movie. He comes and goes. But that underselling of Shivana really made it worth watching until the end, because at the end, the climax scene, his entry scene is something that is not short of genius. It's just amazing. And his character at the climax, his fight scenes, bro, it was one of the best climax scenes that I have seen from Shivana. I think he stole the spotlight from Dhanush in the last scene. And also, there are a lot of elements in this movie that make you want to know more about it. The way the movie ended indicates that there is a continuation to the story. And they also introduced a few characters. One character in particular is a guy with a gray eye. He's a guy wearing an eye patch. That guy looks like an intense character, and I would like to know more about him. Shivana's character, with the reveal at the end, made me want to know more more about that tribe. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. So the last scene, the climax scene with Shivana's entry, makes me want to know more about that, his story, more about how he became who he is at the end and stuff like that. And Dhanush also at the climax scene, he did a fantastic job with the emotions. The elevations were very interesting. And bro, is that true? Dhanush is Rajini's son-in-law? Wow. I discover things every day. Anyways, it is something that in the climax scene, it was very emotional. And it was very humbling also, because you could see the happiness of the people, the happiness of, the triumph of overcoming and reaching what they actually wanted to reach, which was to step into the temple. So honestly, I think it was a very well made film. The last scene was my favorite. The climax scene is the high point of and the selling point of this film. I think they ended on a high note. The climax is truly amazing, and it's the hand-to-hand close combat that makes it so exhilarating. The other action sequences were nice, but there wasn't enough for me. There wasn't enough hand-to-hand combat. The choreography, because it felt like they were shooting from afar. There were a lot of explosions, a lot of action. It's a different type of film. So that's why I'm saying it's a war movie. It's a war movie. It's soldiers versus soldiers, fighters versus fighters. And it's like a platoon movie, you know what I'm saying? So with all of that said, I'm giving this movie an 8.2 out of 10. That's my score, 8.2. Because if they had a little bit more of the climax hand-to-hand combat choreography, I think that would get me a little bit more excited. But that's a personal preference, because like when I watch war movies, it feels a little bit bland, of like them shooting from afar and explosions. That's not my type of action. Not too much. But it's nice. It's actually very good. The sound mixing is good. So if you're into war movies, you're gonna love this so much. I like war movies, but not to the extent to say that it's my favorite genre. But this is a war movie. It felt a little bit like Rambo at some points also, and especially when he was shooting in the very beginning of the movie, when he was shooting the British shoulders, the British soldiers. It was 3 soldiers, 50 bullets. That scene also reminded me a lot of Rambo. So it's that type of film, and I'm sure you guys are gonna love it. So 8.2, that's a good score. The only thing that I would have in the second film would be more choreography, like fight choreography. I know that they did have this here, but the climax scene is what I really, really loved. And that type of action is what I would want to see more. But very well made film. Very, very entertaining. And the storytelling also very well written. I think I've said all of it, but I think the selling point are 2 things for you to keep in mind. The soundtrack, nice sound mixing, and also the music, the English version also, the English song, Miller, Miller, Captain Miller. And also I think the vocals, what they did with that was spectacular. So I like the sound mixing, the soundtrack, and the climax scene. Fantastic. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to know your favorite parts of the film. I would love to know your score from 0 to 10. Mine is 8.2, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Guys, thank you for watching. I will see you on the next video. Take care for now. Bye-bye. See you soon. Let me know what movie I should react to next. Now you can get full access to exclusive content, special reactions to shows, series, anime, full movies, and even request a video of your choice. Just become a YouTube member or join Buy Me a Coffee today. Find out more, the link is in the description.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game.